I discovered the map hidden between the spine of an ungainly atlas in my grandfather's study, its edges frayed like ragged scars. Under the flicker of my desk lamp, the parchment whispered under my fingertips, cool and brittle, with a faint tang of ozone that made my lungs ache. The lines etched across it shifted when I blinked. Rivers rerouted themselves, forests migrated, and trails appeared that led to places no compass could ever find. My breath hitched as I stared, heart drumming like distant thunder, certain that I hadn't imagined the change until the shapes quivered again, settling into a new pattern that pointed beyond any known boundary. I leaned closer, the leather strap of my watch pressing into my wrist, muffling the tick-tock that usually grounded me. The paper's surface felt alive, each curve and angle pulsing beneath my skin, as if it were drawing my blood. Outside, the wind rattled the old window panes, carrying the scent of wet earth and dying leaves, a promise of autumn's hush. With trembling fingers, I traced a forest path winding into a blank expanse, and the map shivered under my touch, revealing a name scrawled in spidery ink: No Man's End. A hush fell in the room. My vision blurred. I blinked, and the contours shifted once more, erasing the name and forging a new route, this one marked by a solitary tree symbol I didn't remember seeing before. The hush grew heavy, as though the map itself held its breath, waiting for me to choose. I rose, the floorboards creaking under my weight like the sigh of an old ship, and gathered the map into my coat pocket. The lantern's glow dimmed, and I knew I would follow whatever path it revealed, even if it led me into the edge of nothing. Dawn found me standing at the edge of an overgrown trail, the map's paper damp against my palm, its lines pulsing faintly as if alive. The air smelled of wet pine needles and cold fog, each breath tasting of Earth's slow decay. I stepped onto the path, boots sinking into moss that swallowed sound, and the world fell silent behind me. No birds sang, no wind stirred. Only the steady, almost imperceptible rustle of the map's shifting contours guided me forward. With each footstep, the trail revealed new symbols, tiny arrows etched into bark, stones arranged like silent sentinels, and patches of bracken that curled toward me, their undersides glistening with dew. The map quivered, and I paused to watch as a blank expanse rippled, forming a narrow line that led deeper into the forest's green gloom. My heart hammered. I cursed myself for following, yet I could not turn back. The paper in my pocket seemed to tighten around my ribs, compelling me onward. Sunlight slanted through the trees, painting the understory in streaks of gold and shadow. I inhaled the pungent scent of resin and damp wood, feeling an unnatural chill snake up my spine each time the map's lines revised themselves. The air grew electric, each breath crackling with the faint hum of something watching. My skin prickled as I reached a collapsed wooden bridge spanning a shallow creek, its planks warped and slick with algae. The map's new path curved across the creek bed itself, marked by a single stone archway on the far bank. I waded into the icy water, teeth chattering as the current tugged at my ankles, and the map glowed pale blue inside my coat. Halfway across, I heard a soft click behind me, a branch snapping under weight that wasn't mine. I whirled, heart in my throat, but saw only mist curling between the trunks. When I turned back, the bridge planks had rearranged themselves into perfect alignment, forming a dark tunnel entrance where no planks had stood moments before. The tunnel yawned before me, its interior too black to pierce with my flashlight. The scent of ozone grew stronger, crackling against my skin like static. I pressed my hand to the cool wood of the archway, and the map's edges lifted, revealing a single word in spidery ink: Beyond. The hush was complete. I inhaled. I stepped forward. The tunnel walls closed in around me, slick with condensation that dripped onto my sleeves with a hollow plink. My boots squelched against a floor of packed earth, as if the forest itself had burrowed beneath the bridge. But the air tasted of antiseptic ozone, clinical and unreal. The beam of my flashlight carved a narrow cone of light, revealing moss-covered bricks that curved into a low arch. And somewhere deeper, a faint glow pulsed like the heartbeat of the earth. I pressed onward, each step muffled, the hush so complete I could hear the echo of my own heartbeat in my ears. The map throbbed in my pocket, its lines shifting beneath my fingers even through fabric. A tremor ran up my spine when I realized the tunnel's curve matched a corridor on the parchment that hadn't existed moments before. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a vaulted chamber, ceiling lost in shadows. My flashlight revealed a circle of standing stones carved with symbols that matched the map's undecipherable runes. A sudden draft stirred them, and they sang, a soft keening like wind through hollow bone. Gooseflesh pricked my arms as the sound reverberated through the chamber, carrying a scent of ozone and wet stone. I stepped toward the nearest monolith, fingertips brushing the carved glyphs. My breath caught when the glyph glowed faintly beneath my touch, warming my palm with an impossible heat. The map quivered in my coat pocket. I drew it out, and the paper fluttered open to reveal the chamber's outline, now etched in fresh ink, center marked by a small circle. I swallowed. The map's circle aligned with the standing stones. But where was the exit? I turned, and the arch I had entered through had vanished, replaced by another corridor leading downward. My pulse thundered as I realized the map was my only guide. Behind me, the stone's keening deepened, and I felt an echo in my mind. A distant laughter I recognized but could not place. Memory's edges frayed as the symbols on the stones smeared into shapes of faces, half-formed, longing, accusing. I tucked the map into my pocket and followed the new passage, boots slipping on damp stone. The air grew chillier, laden with the scent of wet roots and the whisper of unseen wings. With every step I felt unmoored, as if I left pieces of myself in the keening chamber. Yet I pressed on, compelled by the map's quiet insistence. Go further. The next bend promised answers or oblivion. I had no choice but to find out which. A widening corridor opened into a vast cavern hewn from living rock, its walls slick with mineral veins that glowed faintly under my flashlight's beam. The air tasted of damp clay and electric ozone, and with every breath I felt a sudden, unnatural chill crawl through my lungs. Beneath my boots, the floor creaked as though the cavern itself strained beneath an invisible weight. I paused, listening to the distant hum of something deep in the stone, a vibration that thrummed through the map in my pocket. I drew it out. The inked lines had rearranged again, now converging on a single point at the cavern's center, where a circle of salt-white dust marked the ground. Around me, the rock face rippled, and faint impressions appeared, faces frozen in agony, mouths open in silent screams that dissolved when I blinked. A low, keening murmur rose, and I realized it was my own voice calling my name. Panic surged. I turned to retrace my steps, but the corridor had vanished, replaced by sheer walls of stone. The map pulsed in my hand, its edges curling inward like lungs collapsing. A single phrase scrawled itself across the blank margins. No turning back. My heart thundered. I had reached the point of no return. With shaking resolve, I stepped into the circle of dust. The faces on the walls faded, and the hum subsided into a low heartbeat that matched my own. I inhaled the cold air one last time, knowing that beyond this point lay the secret of the map and the truth of who I had become. A tremor rattled the salt dust circle beneath my feet, and the cavern seemed to inhale, drawing every echo of my breath into its vast throat. The standing stones around me blurred, their once solid forms liquefying into streaks of pale gray that dripped like wet paint down the rock walls. An unnatural chill crept up my spine, so fierce it felt as though the very air had turned to ice. My fingertips tingled, and I realized the map in my pocket was warm, pulsing like a slow heartbeat against my thigh. I unfolded it on the cavern floor. The inked lines had dissolved into a blank expanse, save for a single dot at the center, the only mark left where the circle had been. Beneath the dot, a word appeared in trembling script. Here. My chest tightened. Ground shifts. The dust at my boots swirled into a miniature vortex, carrying whispers that brushed my ears. Snatches of laughter, pleas, regrets, all tangled together. I pressed 2 fingers to my temple. Dizzy as memories I'd never lived flickered behind my eyes. A child's cry, a stranger's touch, an endless horizon of white. The lantern's glow warped, stretching into tendrils of light that beckoned me toward a narrow fissure in the cavern floor. I knelt and felt the cold earth give way under my palm. Inside, the scent of wet stone and ozone thickened, and I heard the muted drip of water echoing from some impossible depth. The fissure widened as I slid forward, the map's dot shining at the edge of sight, guiding me into the void. With each inch, the air grew lighter, the cavern's weight slipping away until nothing remained but the hush of unending space. I paused at the threshold, breath suspended between what I was and what I might become. Beyond lay the world the map had drawn and redrawn, a land without borders or memory, where identity itself could be rewritten. The map pulsed one last time, its warmth searing through my coat. Heart hammering, I exhaled and stepped into the blank. I stepped from the void onto a surface that felt not like earth, but like the inside of my own mind, soft and yielding, as if the world were made of memory itself. The air here tasted of rain-washed stone and something sweeter, like the echo of a forgotten lullaby. All around me, horizons rippled like water, folding into themselves, creating impossible landscapes. A forest of mirrors, a river of glass, and skies that bled from twilight into dawn in an instant. I drew the map from my pocket, but its parchment was gone, replaced by smooth skin etched with the same shifting lines. An endless topography of self. A heartbeat thrummed beneath my fingertips, and I realized it was mine. The map and I were one. Each contour I had followed, each symbol I had deciphered, had been a trace of my own identity, my own story. A wind rose, carrying whispers of those who had walked these nameless paths before. Lost travelers who, like me, sought borders to define themselves. Their voices wove into a single truth. The line between map and mapmaker, between path and pilgrim, was as thin as a breath. My heart swelled with both grief and wonder. I understood then that the real journey was not outward, but inward, to accept that boundaries are illusions, and memory the compass by which we navigate our own becoming. I closed my eyes and let the limitless landscape fold away, leaving only the pulse of my own breath. When I opened them again, I stood at the forest's edge, dew-soaked underbrush parting before me. In my hand, the map remained, not a tool, but a testament to transformation. My world had expanded beyond any chart. If you've wandered these shifting borders with me and felt the weight of your own memory, join me on more journeys beyond the edge. Like this story and subscribe to WhisperTales for your nightly escape into anxious calm.